It's safe to say the Formula One world is all a bit up in the air at the moment. In the past few weeks, we have seen the whole paddock get launched up in the air, whether through shock driver moves, instability at the top of championship-winning teams, or the denial of an FIA-approved 11th team. Every garage, factory, and office is a coiled spring, ready to either break or launch forward into the season. We have a feeling that the crazy will continue and only get stranger, with the 2026 regulations luring people out of their safe and cozy positions to make bold, unfortunate, or straight up baffling moves. We could potentially see an unrecognizable grid by the time the regulations get underway. With all of that being said, it seems that one thing will not be changing, and that is the presence of the 23-year veteran with a slight break in the middle, Fernando Alonso. What could be changing for Fernando, however, is the color of his race suit. Want to know why Fernando may have his head turned elsewhere? We think the old fox will wait it out and see which garage is best for his future, but could this whole situation just be more Alonso mind games? And stick around because Fernando has had some pretty choice words about a certain 7-time world champion. There's one thing for sure, Fernando Alonso has proven to be a hot property in F1 even with his growing age. Integral to the shock success of Aston Martin last year, the Spaniard was denied his opportunity of a 33rd race victory, however still walked away with 6 more podium finishes to his name than when he entered the team that season. At the recent Aston Martin car launch, team principal Mike Crack made it clear that the team recognizes Fernando as a key part of their success last season, and hopes they can continue the relationship beyond the current contracted period's conclusion at the end of the season. We love Fernando. We have a very good relationship with him. He's an integral member of the team. We have a relationship based on trust and openness, and we would be delighted to continue with Fernando into 25 and the year after. However, the team is yet to secure the Spaniard's signature for 2025 and beyond, with Fernando making it clear that he needs some time at the start of the season to be convinced by the prospect of staying in Formula One. Fernando has made it clear that he only wants to stay in the sport for as long as he is at the top of the grid, fighting for podiums and even wins. However, we think there's potentially more to it than that. If I commit to a project in the future for the next few years, I need to be ready to commit to that. I will not drive a few more years in F1 just to drive and have fun. I'm not that kind of driver, not that kind of person. So perhaps Alonso is not necessarily looking to just within when it comes to being convinced to extend his time in Formula One. He may also be looking around at how the other teams start the season to see if there is a better home for him elsewhere. If he doesn't believe that Aston can be fighting for championships within a suitable time frame, Fernando may look to position himself in a team that can offer that to him sooner while he is still at the peak of his powers, which it has to be said, still shows no sign of dwindling even into his 4th decade. If I want to keep driving, it's because I know, starting from myself, that I can give 200% to the team on and off track. Simulator work, marketing work, delivering the result on track, I'm preparing for that in the eventuality I want to keep racing. If I want to keep racing, let's see what the options are. I'm probably attractive to other teams for the performance they saw last year, the commitment, and as I say, there are only 3 world champions on the grid, and for 25, only 1 is available. While Fernando is clearly leaving his options open, Aston Martin will want to make his decision the easiest one possible, with the driver scoring 208 of the team's 280 points last season. James Fallows, the Aston Martin technical director, seems to believe that the team has done enough to do this, with him being confident that the team has taken a good step forward over the winter. Not only that, he believes that Aston Martin has Red Bull well within their sights as they move forward into the next season. There's still a lot of lap time to come, and we take the approach that Red Bull are absolutely beatable. That's what we are chasing after. We are focusing on them, and that's what we're aiming for. We talk about Red Bull because they are the benchmark in terms of performance. Really, for us, whoever is the fastest car is the focus for us, and that's what we are looking at. So just how are the team going to take it to Red Bull? It doesn't seem that there is some sort of secret weapon on the car to give them an advantage. However, Fallows believes that the strong foundations that the team are putting forward will allow them to adapt to any circuit and the landscape of the season as it moves forwards. Rather than thinking about individual races, from an engineering point of view, we have to make a car that's capable of operating at any circuit and being competitive. That's really what we're focused on, making a car that is usable and good for the drivers, and that's what we've been really trying to focus on. Those sorts of competitive stats and how we get closer to Red Bull will come after that. If we put that performance on the car, then we have given ourselves the opportunity to compete at that level, which is exactly what we want. However, it would appear that the margins between Fernando being convinced and him being drawn elsewhere could be incredibly thin. This perhaps explains why he is willing to wait a few months into the season before committing to his future in the sport, as this will allow him not only to see the cars at the start of the year, but how the teams adapt to the changing landscape. It's been touted a lot this season that 2024 will shape 2025 more so than years leading into each other have before, so while Fernando will be keeping his eyes open, it would appear that the team have made a good start at convincing him to stay. It's a good thing he says that. It puts a smile on my face. We have to be optimistic at this part of the season. We saw last year as well that Ferrari finished really strong and achieved a few pole positions in the last part of the year. I think we have to be regularly in the points first, being a contender for podiums as we did last year, and then if we are in that position, it would be lovely to achieve the first victory in green for Aston Martin, and hopefully I can be behind the wheel at that moment. However, Fernando would go on to acknowledge just how close the margins could be in deciding not only the winners and losers this season, but his future moving forwards, as he went on to say, "But I think we have to go step by step, and it's going to be very tight. There are going to be 4 or 5 teams within 0.2 of a second this year, I bet. That will put you either fighting for podiums or fighting out of the top 10, so we really need to be focused on that." So the margins will be very close. However, Fernando will be sure to do what he has always done in his career, and that is whatever is best for himself. At the end of the day, last year was a vast improvement on the year before, perhaps helped somewhat by a combined 6 world championships driving the team forward, with Vettel laying the foundations and Fernando giving the on-track ferocity to reap the rewards. However, whether the momentum can be carried over to this coming season after seeing it fall away at the back end of last year is another thing entirely. Fernando Alonso also had a pretty comedic take on the recent shock move of Hamilton to Ferrari, with the Spanish driver casting some doubts over the Brits' enthusiasm at joining the team. He would also go on to put the onus more on the car than the driver if Lewis were to see success at the team, suggesting that he only moved as he knew where the upward trajectory on the paddock was. Yeah, I don't know. It was not his childhood dream 12 months ago or 2 months ago. I guess because it was a different dream, so nothing really to comment. I hope he enjoys the experience. I think it's a very special team. It's more special when you win, and that's the thing. You need to win. For a few years already, they have a very fast car and they were fighting for big things. Maybe Lewis can bring that extra to fight for the championship because I think, as I said, the car is there. At the end of last year, even with a very dominating Red Bull car, Ferrari is still able to match the lap time and to be faster than them in most of the qualifying, so I think the car should be fast enough. Following it up, when he asked if he thinks people may follow Lewis to Ferrari, I don't know. I have no info and I do not care what Lewis Hamilton is doing. Classic Alonso.